what would you like to do?
I don't know. We don't have an intro. Welcome, everybody, to the Glazier Gamble with Michael Glazier and Joe Rybolt. We got some good stuff for you today. This is episode 34 of the sports section. And it's, NBA trade deadline. We got NFL coaching hires, but the main stuff, this is going to be a heavy NBA day. So first thing we want to cover, though, is the Olympics, because there was a super, super sad story. I don't know if you saw. Yannick Bertrand, unfortunately, he's a downhill skier.
Oh, yeah, no, I saw this.
He's a downhill skier from the French team. He was going down, took a turn to the right, coming over a hill, and instead of going around the gate, he tried to go through it. And unfortunately, the gate gave him a solid thwap right in between the legs. And audibly, he doesn't have a mic on him, you hear just a scream of just pain. He got thwapped in the dick. The announcers made the play, though. The announcer tried to maintain his professionalism, but I watched that clip easily like 30-40 times. Not exaggerating. I would say, if I were to say a good number, I would say somewhere around like 42 to 46 times.
Okay.
It was I was laughing till I was crying, like sitting at my kitchen table trying to eat breakfast. I just couldn't do it. And then the morning radio show that I listened to talked about it as well, and they cut the scream part. They cut the announcer, a couple of announcers, like golden comments part, and started using them throughout the show.
Nice.
And I just on this, yeah. Like he just anyway, rest in peace. I do think he gave up, though. Like, he definitely, with the adrenaline running on the downhill ski, because he stopped. Like, he, screamed, crouched, and then he didn't keep going. And I feel like that was giving up. Like, you went all the way to China to compete in something that you've, wanted to do your whole life for your career, and you give up after getting, you're telling me the adrenaline didn't stop the feeling of the pain. Like, yeah, it's going to hurt, but you don't push through that. Finish your run and then just crumple, lie down on the ground.
Even if you don't medal or anything, just at least get some pride and be like, I'm an Olympic.
Right, you just lost a huge chunk of pride. You lost the rest of it by not finishing. But yeah, that's our one Olympic story. Also, men's curling team of the United States took gold.
Damn right. They've a bunch of training facilities in Minnesota.
Their coach was in Minnesota.
Yeah.
When I was in Colorado, I lived about 5 minutes from one of the Olympic training facilities in Colorado.
Sure.
Fun fact. Let's jump curling. For curling. Let's go into the NBA, because this is a large part of our discussion. First thing we want to talk about is Karl-Anthony Towns is in the 3-point contest. Let's go! Let's go!
Not your typical. You don't got, obviously, Clay's not probably going to do that, but, Steph's not there. Some weirder picks, but, I think he's got a good shot.
Zach LaVine, another Timberwolf in there.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Speaking of the captains picked their teams, and Zach LaVine, Andrew Wiggins, and Cat are all on the same team. So can't wait for them to put that graphic up of.
Yeah, I wonder if those three on the same team would be good. Just the idea of those three on the same team sounds really good. But yeah, Cat's in the 3-point contest. I think with the amount of time they give him, it's not really a big deal. The fact that he's a big man, but I do think he's gonna do well. I think he's gonna.
Well, he said in every 3-point contest he's done, in his past, he's always been in the final round. He's always made the last 2. So.
Well, see, that's the thing, is he doesn't really have a lot of crunch time experience. Never had all this pressure on him. He's gonna have the lights on him. Let's see if he can do it.
Right. Yeah, if he can get through usually it's the first round that psychs people out. They can get through that first round.
Right. It's where you see a good shooter get an 11.
Unless it's Clay or Steph, and it's 29.
Right. I wish they would go back to the old scoring.
Yeah, just 30 points.
Didn't add anything. Yeah, it didn't add anything to change
36, because all the money balls or something like that.
But continuing on with the NBA, we just wanted to talk about that quick, because Timberwolves, there's a ton of trades. Trade deadline was today. We record on Thursdays. Tons of trades. Astronomical amount of trades.
It ended today at 3 p.m. Eastern Should be 2 p.m. Central, 2 a.m., 2 p.m. Central.
And we're only going to cover some of the huge ones. There was a lot of littler trades, like Daniel Dice for can't remember.
Josh Richardson for Derek White or something.
Yeah,
like that.
Josh Richardson for Jared. We're not going to cover those trades. They're just, not only do they not really move the needle, it's also just, teams helping themselves out with salary cap, not really trying to make a huge push. Like the Spurs didn't get Josh Richardson because they think it's going to push them into the playoffs.
They got a second round pick, I think.
Right. So those aren't the trades that we wanted to discuss. First one was a ginormous one that was like the big, like the first big trade that happened was Damantas Sabonis, Jeremy Lamb, Justin Holiday, all three traded for Tyrese Haliburton, Buddy Hield, Tristan Thompson, and a second round pick. First of all, Tyrese Haliburton, the Kings traded him when the whole time they've been talking about it's De'Aaron Fox that they want to get rid of.
Right. And like 2 weeks prior, like Tyrese Haliburton was doing an interview and he's like, listen, I don't care what the culture has been in Sacramento. Like, I'm here to stay. I'm here to fix it. I'm here to do what I can for Sacramento. And it's like,
and his teammates outed him, saying he started crying when he heard the news and that he was blindsided and didn't think he would get traded. The Kings made such a weird decision there. Like, I get it. You're trying to change the team. You wanted to like pick a direction, go with it. You picked Fox, so you want Fox into Sabonis. You got rid of Bagley in another trade. They're moving on. They're making changes. I get it. So now their number one scoring option is Harrison Barnes. Number two is Sabonis or Fox.
Yeah.
And then the other Sabonis and Fox swap off there. Like that's
right.
So that's the direction of their team. The Haliburton thing just blows my mind because of like his mentality with the team. Just the fact that he was not skill wise, but he was your Damian Lillard. Like he was I don't care if we're terrible for the next 15 years. I'm going to switch this team around and get us into the playoffs every year. Right. I'm going to play defense and I'm going to play offense. Like it's
a very unique player because his jump shot looks very odd.
Yeah.
He's a very weird looking jump shot, but like, so do I. I can make 1 out of 10 threes. So yeah, I don't know. That was very surprising. I knew they were going to move Buddy Hield. Tristan Thompson's probably just a cash filler. Second round pick is probably just draft capital that Indiana wanted. But Sabonis was the big one. I texted you earlier and I was like, my unpopular opinion might get some heat, but I think that the Los Angeles Lakers should have traded Anthony Davis for a Sabonis package. Maybe even like it's a 3-team trade and someone gets AD and a bunch of firsts and the Lakers get Sabonis and Buddy Hield. I don't know.
Right. And speaking of the Lakers, like they said that they made no moves and they're just going to focus on the buyout market. So continue, probably getting older guys. Like just the LAARP Lakers.
That's funny.
I can't believe that they did nothing, but I agree. So I didn't necessarily think they should trade him for Sabonis, but I texted you right back saying like, I also said this on YouTube and I did get a lot of heat. I thought the Lakers should trade Anthony Davis. I thought Anthony Davis is the one who's got to go. I don't think he is a number one. He's got the talent to be one, but he doesn't have the mentality to be one. So he can fill up the stats, but he's not your leader. It's like Karl-Anthony Towns might have bigger numbers than Anthony Edwards if you make them the number one option on a bad team. Cat might have bigger numbers, but I'm still considering Ant a bigger number one because of his mentality.
All right.
I think Anthony.
And it's the thing, yeah. I think like scoring option, Ant is down the stretch, like throughout the whole game. He's got the dog in him, whatever. But also like the leaders on the team, it's like Pat Bev, D'Angelo Russell. So it's like, I mean, even Cat to some extent, and to some extent too. Like it kind of spreads out throughout the whole thing, rather than some teams just have the one leader.
And that's why the Wolves have gotten better. Is Cat's no longer
Anthony
number
Davis
one.
Is just like quiet.
Yeah,
like, subdued,
I think,
like,
and he's injured all the time for a big guy. It just keeps happening. Obviously, they still need to get rid of Russ. They didn't, but nobody would have taken Russ.
Yeah,
Doesn't
we
matter.
said Russ for Wall back in the day, and that was, are they going to do it? Are they going to do it?
Right, and that's what everybody started talking about a day or two before. What we talked about weeks ago.
They should have.
They should have done something. Like I honestly, with Russ, you just dive into that luxury tax and buy out part of the like do something. But yeah, I think they should have traded AD, even if they didn't go for Sabonis, getting rid of Anthony Davis because that gets you something. So if you still think that LeBron is good enough to carry the team, which his offensive numbers say so. I think his defense and his effort have dropped. His distributing has dropped, but his scoring has gone
having
up.
To watch Russ all the time. It's like that's.
Well, and he's been in the league 20 years,
right?
Like I don't expect him to be able. I don't expect him to give it his all every time down the court.
Sure.
Being in the league for 20 years, Anthony Davis gets you. Oh, you might be able to get picks for the future. You might be able to get three, like a fifth man, a sixth man, and a seventh man, plus 2 first-round picks for Anthony Davis.
Right.
That fifth, sixth, and seventh man means more to you than anybody you're getting on the buyout market, and it means more than John Wall. And at that point, you're running through Anthony Davis. You're still Carmelo Anthony. So the LeBron James is having the best season out of anybody that's been in the league longer than 17 years or something like that.
Right.
The second best season in that time is what Melo is currently doing this season. So they have the best season and the second best season of any older player ever.
Sure.
So you can keep running with Melo, you can keep playing LeBron, then these other people come in. Malik Monk's actually surprised me. I was very wrong. I thought he was going to be a huge bust.
They were all ass at the start. Kendrick Nunn.
But Malik Monk's getting a lot better. So like you could run with Malik Monk as your sixth man still, get these other 3 or 4 players that you got for Anthony Davis. You could have gotten something that made this team actually like, from like a 10th seed to like a 7th seed, and then you can hope LeBron can carry you there.
They should have done something. I mean, you even look at the like Richard Jefferson and Kendrick Perkins when they heard that the Lakers didn't make anything, they started laughing.
Right.
They started laughing. Like I was very surprised too. That was just my thing. Like, if you want to replace a center with a center, I guess, for Sabonis, just because I just watched the Kings game, and the second Kings game, like he didn't play in the first Kings game after the trade, but then like this next one, like his effort was just unbelievable. Like they
Sabonis
just
is
came out
nuts.
with, like first half he had like 12 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and I was like, he's just trying to do everything he can for a new team.
Yeah, well, and that's the way he was on the Pacers, and that's the way he was in college when everybody was like, oh, is Sabonis one of these bigger names? Like, should teams jump for Sabonis in the lottery? And it's like, oh, maybe not. No, everybody's always looked at Sabonis and thought he's not that great.
When OKC, when they had him, like,
yeah, like he's been a double-double every night, and then on the other nights when he's not a double-double, he's a triple-double, and he's so good, and he's just an effort guy. He's Russ level effort from a big man who plays the 3 through the 5, and he's actually an efficient scorer.
Yeah, he does the Jokic things too.
Right,
So,
he does Jokic things, Russ things, and he's more efficient than Russ.
Yeah,
that
would have been my play. Like they got Sabonis, Jeremy Lamb, and Justin Holiday. They would have had probably 2 starters there. With Sabonis and Holiday, like Justin Holiday is good,
and then you get another shooter around LeBron
for the bench
with Lamb.
Yeah.
I agree.
They should have done something.
I think that is a hot take, an unpopular take, but Lakers should have traded Anthony Davis at the deadline. Yes, they should have tried to move. They should have tried to move Russ, but
and THT probably. Like I don't know, they could have done a lot.
But I think my number one move would have been trying to figure out the biggest prize you could get for Anthony Davis, because I don't think Anthony Davis is doing anything for you. The other night, Anthony Davis had 9 points? Like I don't know. I think that's great for the Kings, and I think that they got Sabonis and Lamb, but I think Haliburton is going to be a huge future piece. So I'm happy for him.
Yeah,
I think that means the Pacers, because did the Pacers end up trading Brogdon?
No, but I think that means Brogdon's not in their plans.
I agree. I agree.
But it sounds like Turner's in their plans.
Turner said, so I put that down because immediately Miles Turner was interviewed or questioned. I don't know if it was a local reporter. I think it was a local reporter asked how he felt. And he said, I am immediately opening my contract extension talks because he now wants to play for the Pacers because he believes he'll be a number 1 option. And he was not being played at center, which obviously I don't watch a ton of Pacers games. I was shocked to hear that. Apparently he was the 4 and Sabonis was the 5. Miles Turner should be your 5.
Yeah, Turner's always been the best. Like, I mean, he's blocks per game, right? Like
he's still leading in blocks a game.
So let him and like Mitchell Robinson and Gobert, something like that. Those 3.
Usually always those 3.
So
usually always Gobert and Turner, and then AD's up there.
Especially with like Sabonis and like his kind of free reign to like move around as much. Whereas Turner's got a jump shot, but like I don't know, they both got jump shots. But
So Turner's part of the plan. It'll be Haliburton, Turner, and then some draft picks.
TJ Warren in there. Yeah.
We covered the first trade. We covered the Lakers. The next we're going to talk about is Caris LeVert was traded for Ricky Rubio. So Caris LeVert traded for Ricky Rubio, which insane.
He's hurt.
Well, apparently it sounds like Rubio is going to get bought out, and
Right.
he is going to sign with the Cavaliers.
Okay.
Yeah, that was early. That's what was reported, is that he's gonna get bought out by the Pacers or whatever, and because that's where he was from, right? Pacers.
Yeah, that's where you got traded to.
Yeah. He's gonna get bought out. Apparently, he's gonna get bought out by the Pacers and then sign back with the Cavs, and so he doesn't plan on even leaving Cleveland.
Okay.
So he's just gonna stay there. Apparently, multiple teams are interested, so he is going to listen to the other teams.
Sure.
But his top choice is going back to the Cavs because he likes the city and the teams treated him the best. Trading him, cutting him, all that sort of thing. But anyway, yeah, so I think that's interesting. So that means basically they traded Caris LeVert for a 2022 lottery protected first and a 2022 second from Houston and a 2027 second because they're going to get Rubio back. So it was basically just Caris LeVert for that.
For protected lottery protected first in 2 seconds. Well, I mean they're flirting with lottery. I guess. I mean, like they're good. They're good. They're doing well this year, but like
they're a good. They're a future team. They're definitely a. Like 5 years from now, I would be terrified to play the Cavs if they all keep developing. They got Sexland, LeVert, Mobley, Allen,
Garland,
Sexton, and Garland. Their duo name is Sexland.
Okay, got it.
So they got Sexland, LeVert, Mobley, and Allen as their future.
Markkanen, right?
And Markkanen.
Yeah.
So they have 6. They have a full 6 rotation. But the thing is apparently they don't plan on re-signing Sexton.
Right.
So
he's a big name that's going to hit the market.
But if they did, obviously, but even then, so Rubio is your point guard with Garland as your 2, LeVert is your 3, Markkanen, Allen, and Mobley. Like Markkanen's probably your 6th man at that point.
Yeah, because I think Love's starting. I want to say
their team is. I think they're really good. So that the Cavs that happened. I think it's weird that Rubio's going back, but yeah, that's one of the big trades that happened. And then I didn't write down all the deals because it was just a lot of information. But the Kings, the Bucks, the Pistons, and the Clippers did a 4-team deal.
Yeah,
that's I wanted to talk about that because no other sport really does multi-team trades.
No, you don't see that often. Maybe in the MLB.
Right, and like maybe baseball.
Yeah.
Sometimes golf,
it's usually
here's my 3 wood for your driver. But yeah, usually it's prospects. With baseball, it's prospects with hockey.
Right.
Like it's really basketball's the only one where you see starters on 4 teams like rotate. Right. Which is why NBA trade deadline is paid attention to as much as big events in other sports.
Yeah, that's why Tobias Harris sweats every time the trade deadline happens because he's been in many of those multi-team trades.
Yeah, there's those guys that are on like $10 to $15 million deals are always the guys like, who am I going to?
Well, yeah, because those are like the perfect, like if those are expiring contracts.
Montrezl Harrell was just traded.
Yeah, those are expiring contracts. Those are like prime deals. Like
those guys become journeymen by taking those contracts. Like Drummond, which we'll get to that. These guys that take those deals end up getting moved because they're signing you with the potential, which that was everybody thought the Timberwolves might trade Patrick Beverley. Like before this season started, before he started doing really well, everybody's like Patrick Beverley's going to get traded at the deadline anyway.
Right.
But
Prince even.
Did you know Taurean Prince is the only Timberwolf to have an NFT as his profile picture?
Oh, nice. Brie Larson also does.
Yeah.
That was a talk.
Anyway, the next massive trade. Portland Trailblazers trade CJ McCollum, Larry Nance, and Tony Snell. What do they get in return? Josh Hart, Nickeil, Walker Alexander, Thomas Satoransky, Didi Louzada, a first, and 2 seconds. None of the names that they got in return really make me that excited. I'm pretty sure they traded Nickeil Alexander Walker right away, if I'm not mistaken. I thought so.
I'm going to say he's probably the best piece there. He's been playing pretty well. But they also traded Norman Powell and Robert Covington, too.
Traded to the Jazz.
Yeah, like maybe it was the Joe Ingles one. Yeah, there was like a Joe Ingles trade for the Joe Ingles got sent somewhere. Portland.
Yeah, Joe Ingles is on the Blazers. They traded Joe Ingles for Nickeil Alexander Walker in a 3-team trade.
Right, and then Rocco and
Hughes.
Rocco and Norman Powell got sent out too. Like they blew it up, and that's fine because they should blow it up. Portland needs a lot of work.
That's
like
what
they
the
need to
Lakers should have done.
Yeah,
like we're not Laker fans, but everybody talks about the Lakers. Lakers move the needle. Lakers should have done what the Blazers did: trade everyone that can possibly be moved.
But like the Lakers have a piece that like they could have got significant value back. Like and Portland didn't have that.
Right, you got 3 picks and
they do, but I mean they're not going to trade Dame. So
right, but you got 3 picks and 3 players for 3 players.
Yeah.
So
and you got a lot of like you traded the other players too. So I don't even know if they're gonna be able to build a roster.
So that because of the trades that they made, the Trailblazers have $70 million in cap space.
Yeah.
That they freed up.
So I mean
that's 2 max contracts they can sign in the offseason. Yeah. So they are planning, which this was reported, they plan on signing 2 major players or 3. Yeah. So I'm gonna guess not Sexton. It's not
Fernie Simons. They're gonna keep. They're gonna have to extend him, so he's gonna get a contract. I can see them move Nurkic. I mean, they could move Nurkic. They could not move Nurkic. It all depends.
They can just go the all guard team. They'll re-sign him Fernie, keep Lillard, trade Nurkic, sign Sexton. They'll buy out Buddy Hield or whatever. They'll sign Buddy Hield. Yeah, they'll just be an all guard team. I think they're really embracing small ball in Portland.
All right, that's working.
But that first round pick is interesting because if the Blazers, if the Pelicans,
I saw this.
That Pelicans pick, if they are in picks 1 through 4, the Pelicans get to keep it.
Right.
If it's picks 5 through 14, the Blazers get it.
Lottery protected.
If it's 15 through 30, the Hornets get it.
It's not a lottery.
If the Pelicans end up getting it at 1 through 4, the Blazers get a future first and the Hornets get a future second. If the Blazers get it, the Hornets get a future second, and then if the Hornets get it or the Pelicans get it, the Blazers get a future first.
It's a lot of conditions on that.
That pick is just could be anything. Yeah. So it's really interesting, and that was like the most fun part of the trade outside of the fact that CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard are no longer part of the same team, and CJ McCollum is probably going to go back to probably 19, 20 points a game. Yeah,
I mean, I couldn't tell you. New Orleans, they got Brandon Ingram, Zion, who hasn't played a minute.
Zion apparently will be out the whole year.
Yep. Valanciunas, right? Valanciunas.
Yep. Valanciunas, I think, is their leading scorer right now.
Yeah, he's doing really well. He's like offensive or second chance points. He's like first in the league.
Brandon Ingram's their leading scorer, and then it's Valanciunas, then Devontae Graham, Josh Hart, who's no longer there, Nickeil Alexander Walker, who's no longer there.
The Knicks only need one more piece of their puzzle to complete their Duke 3-headed monster. There, so
I thought so. Apparently, the Knicks were somebody that the Lakers tried to give Russ to. I know you keep bumping your camera.
I don't know. I'm moving my legs back and forth. I'm hitting a chord, and that chord's.
But apparently the Knicks were somebody that they tried to get rid of Russ. I don't want to keep bringing up the Lakers though. But anyway, CJ McCollum on another team, and he'll probably take up those Josh Hart minutes, but have a lot more production. And I think that's just their way of trying to make it into the playoffs, hoping Zion comes back for the playoffs.
Yeah, sure.
Or trying to show Zion, hey, we're willing to build around you. Please don't leave us. Please don't leave us.
All right, we're going to get a 30-year-old, 31-year-old shooting guard that's probably past his, but can still score, but
he's a good locker room presence. He used to be the president of the Players Association or something like that. So, or either that or he was part of the Players Association, right under Chris Paul. I don't know.
More of a win now thing, which I don't know if they're necessarily in. If they have
the West is wide open, in my opinion. I don't think there's anybody in the West. Like the East has, I think, 3 teams. It's like, there's 3 teams that are going to be in the finals, or it's like one of 3 teams, and that's it. And then I think the West, it's like if you give me seeds 1 through 10, I think any of them can make the finals. It's just so even. And then any of those 10, I'm like, I don't know if any of you beat the East. The East is just more top heavy. Speaking of the East, though, Washington Wizards just acquired a unicorn.
I don't get this.
They trade Spencer Dinwiddie. And there was more to the trade, but it was Spencer Dinwiddie for Kristaps Porzingis, which, okay, so that was the confusion on Twitter. But again, for that guy who said I don't do my research, I know exactly what the reason is for this trade. And it's because Spencer Dinwiddie asked to be removed from the team. And the
Good.
reason he wants to be removed from the team is because he does not like playing with Bradley Beal, nor does he like Bradley Beal off court.
Nice.
So
Glad he signed there.
so it was an issue with the stars. So he wanted to be off. So hopefully he likes Luka, who is going to have the ball more than Bradley Beal, pass the ball less than Bradley Beal, and not shoot as well as Bradley Beal. And probably won't work to get open as much as Bradley Beal. I think it's interesting, but yeah, that was apparently it was a request by Spencer Dinwiddie to get removed from the team. He did not care. So the Mavericks just happened to be the team that took him, but Dinwiddie simply did not want to be with the Wizards.
Got it.
And that's why, because the internet reacted the way you did. I don't know. This one doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, but the Wizards had to do something to help the locker room. The Mavericks, Porzingis and Luka don't get along. Beal and Dinwiddie didn't get along. So it's just, let's help our teams out here.
Let's see what happens.
But that's the one I'm most interested in. The last one is the huge one that everyone is talking about. I debated doing a live reaction to it.
Before we do this whole thing, it involves James Harden and Ben Simmons. Big blockbuster of the day. Let me tell you what the Nets gave up for Harden 12 months ago. Okay. They gave up Jared Allen, Caris LeVert, Taurean Prince, 2022 first, 2024 first, 2026 first, 2021 first round pick swap, 2023 first round pick swap, 2025 first round pick swap, 2027 first round pick swap. That's to get James Harden 12 months ago. That's crazy.
Now they moved James Harden, that they took all that for Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks. So the Sixers finally realized Ben Simmons is not worth a superstar. That's why you had to add in 2 of your best role players, and your future was mortgaged with first-round picks, and you got the oldest player in the trade. Yes, you got the best player in the trade, but you also got the oldest player in the trade, and you got rid of your first-round pick. So definitely, if you don't win now, your future's kind of messed up. Embiid
won. You got 2 years because Harden has accepted this player option for
that was the condition of the trade. The Sixers were going to cancel or veto the trade if he didn't do that. And so yeah, he's in there for 2 years. You got 2 years of Harden. Embiid won the night on Twitter, posted that meme of the dude that said showed up to my hater's funeral just to make sure he's dead.
Right.
And that was him like making sure Simmons was not coming back. So I thought that was hilarious. I'm not a big Embiid fan, but he's really good on Twitter. But yeah, so that occurred. I think the Sixers were one of those 3 teams I said were already going to make it to the finals. So adding Harden, I think that even more so.
Yeah, and the other team was too.
And the Nets are as well.
Yeah.
Adding Harden's amazing for them. I think Harden and Embiid are going to pair together really well. I think the key in this is the role that Tobias Harris plays. Is Tobias Harris going to be the second option, or is Harden going to be the second option? I think the natural response is Harden, but Harden wanted to leave the Nets because he doesn't want to be a second option. That's why he was unhappy that Kyrie wasn't there, because all of a sudden he's now being relied on. Like, oh, I actually have to perform and do what I want to do in order for the team to succeed.
This makes you, Harden and Embiid thing makes you like almost like drool at the possibilities to like Cat and D'Lo for like their pick and roll game. Same thing with Harden and Embiid, like Harden and Embiid pick and roll
pop,
game.
Pick and roll, both of them. You can pick and roll, or Embiid can pick and pop. I saw somebody call him Embiid the best shooting big man of all time. No, that's Cat. Embiid can be it up the top, but it's Cat. But Embiid is a really good shooter, and I don't know. I think the Sixers got better because you have a human breathing with a beating heart on the floor, replacing somebody who was not even in your.
That is a superstar type talent.
It doesn't even matter. It could have been the janitor. He's doing more for your team than Ben Simmons was.
Right.
So the Sixers did a great job there. The Nets, in my opinion, if you're going to pick a winner of the trade, the Nets win the trade.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
But the Sixers are the team to beat. I think that they have the best 1-2 in the league. Just I can't think of a better 1-2. I know that Kyrie KD is there, but I don't consider that a 1-2 because one of those 2 is not there most of the time.
Right.
One of them is literally only there half the time. The other one is there.
They're both not there right now.
Right, exactly. But Harden's going to be there, and Embiid this year at least has maintained healthy.
Right.
So you got the best 1-2 in the league now, probably. I'm gonna go with the Sixers probably make at worst the Eastern Conference Finals. It all depends on it. It all depends on if Harden can show up in the playoffs.
Right.
The Nets side, on the other hand, Ben Simmons, everybody's like, oh, is he even going to play? We don't know if he's going to play. We haven't seen him. Last time we saw him, he had a cell phone in his pocket at practice. That was the last time we even heard of Ben Simmons. Is he going to... I'm assuming Ben Simmons is immediately going to play.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, then I'm even more concerned about his mental health, if he's truly okay.
Right.
Like, then it's actually a genuine concern. It's not just, I didn't want to play.
And the Nets know the most about this situation. Like,
right.
So,
but even without Simmons, they had Seth Curry, who is a way more consistent shooter than Joe Harris, and a way better shooter. Yeah. Well, all the time, whole career.
Well, there's that 1 year Joe Harris had an amazing year.
That's my exact point. Joe Harris has had one good year.
Yeah,
over his
career,
contract based on a year.
Yeah.
I think Joe Harris is probably the most overrated shooter in basketball. Right. He's when it came to the playoffs, he was probably their worst shooter in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be your best shooter.
Right.
I don't know. Seth Curry is somebody you'll actually be able to rely on. And then
imagine if they had like a Caris LeVert or something.
If they had like a Caris LeVert, a Spencer Dinwiddie to facilitate to LeVert or something like that.
Even like a Jared Allen.
A Jared Allen. Well, they got their Jared Allen. They got a less athletic version of Jared Allen, but a stronger version in Andre Drummond. So now they got Andre Drummond, who I think is Ben Simmons is the
you don't need score. Like you have Kyrie. Like assuming your lineup is Kyrie, Curry, KD, Simmons, and either Nick Claxton or Andre Drummond or Marcus Aldridge, one of those three. It doesn't matter what the fifth person does. Like you have three offensive pieces out there. That's more than enough. So.
I think they're actually going to run Simmons with Kyrie at the 2 because Kyrie wants to be the 2. That's why Harden was there to play the 1.
Right.
So I think Simmons is going to play the 1.
I think Curry's still going to be out there and KD's going to be out there. So, I mean, those 5 are interchangeable. It's positionless basketball. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Definitely. And I do think Seth Curry is going to be a 6-man. I don't know if he's going to start.
Yeah.
I think while KD's hurt, he'll start. But when they're like, if their full roster's healthy, I think Seth Curry is the 6-man. Whether or not I agree with that's where he should be, I think that's what they'll do.
All right. Him or Harris out there, if they want Blake Griffin, I don't know. It all depends.
But yeah, so that was the huge trade. I definitely think the Nets win it. So I had a salty morning. I kind of, woke up on the wrong side of the bed, had some rough, just a really rough morning.
I've had some rough mornings the last 2 days.
See, but you were sick. You had food poisoning.
Yeah.
I just, I got woken up rudely. I started off wrong, and then just things kept frustrating me.
Okay.
And it just kept. So I was angry. I've had a really angry day trying to get my camera set up and trying to figure out the DSLR camera rather than a webcam. And the DSLR wasn't working. That's everything. Everything's been making me angry. So I was really salty. I made some comments on the internet that were a little crankier than usual. And one of them is the fact that James Harden. I'll tone it down here. But James Harden is leaving at the hardest time because he is scared of having to try. He went to Brooklyn because he thought he was going to be given a ring with me, Kyrie, and KD on the same team. Just give us the ring. He doesn't want to, and everybody was just so angry at me saying, oh, he's played for them every game. He's the only one that's been healthy. He's the only one putting up numbers the whole time. He's still, even with that, showing up is so much different than actually trying every time down the court. If you're actually watching the games, Harden is not there to try. Harden,
and it's not even Houston Harden. If he's the only one out there of the big three, it's not even Houston Harden.
Exactly. And now he was starting to begging and crying to get out of there because he realizes if the playoffs happen, I'm going to be relied on in the playoffs, and I don't want to do that because everybody knows that when I show up in the playoffs, half of me shows up and the other half of me stays at home.
Right.
So now he goes
the strip club. Sorry, he goes to the
Oh, gotcha. Right. Which is why I think he wanted to go to the Sixers so bad because Tobias Harris can be the 2, second scoring option, and he's got Embiid. I think he just wants to facilitate, and he thinks I'm on a super team that I can walk into the playoffs, and I only have to try for 1 series or 2 series. So last year I started gaining a ton of respect for Harden. The Houston thing happened, and I was like, I understand he's had a rough time. I'm not a huge fan. He's been let out of the MVP during times where he's deserved it. Last year I started rooting for Harden, and I lost all of that this
Oh
season.
yeah, no. I mean, even when Harden was in Houston, okay, he doesn't try on defense. That's kind of right. Like, that's okay. But the dude was putting up 60 points a night, 50, 60 points a night. So like, even if he's not playing defense, like, he's still accounting for half your points.
His plus minus is still going to be absurd, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I just couldn't
take one person up here for offense. You should have person down here, down here to like cover that.
I just think from like a character consistency standpoint, James Harden, when I think of James Harden, it's going to be, even if the Sixers win a ring, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if this dude retires after winning one ring because he did what he.
Hey now, but here, think about this: if the Nets or the Sixers win the championship, he gets a ring.
There you go. He's maximizing his chance to win a ring because that's the one thing that I don't show up in the playoffs and I don't have a ring. I don't want to be one of those guys. I genuinely think all the decisions he's making are 100% selfish, Harden decisions. He would have done this if he would have gone from Houston to any other team and it wasn't looking good, he would have done this on any team. I lost a lot of he doesn't seem like a baller. Like a lot of people say, like, you need a baller on your team. You got to have a baller mentality. Like, when I think baller, I think like Steven Jackson. He wasn't necessarily like a superstar, but he was a baller on the court. He will sacrifice a lamb before the game if it means he gets to start for 48 minutes.
All right.
James Harden's probably just like, nah.
He was like that in Houston though, so like something just flipped with him.
Right, like something happened.
Baller in Houston, like.
Well, was it the 0 for 13 night? Like, because that was the night that everything seemed to change for him.
Right, maybe
like the last playoff game where he couldn't make a single shot, and now everybody starts talking about how James Harden's the worst playoff player ever. So like, I was already really salty, and I straight up said, I basically said he's just a punk. He punked out of Brooklyn. He's too scared to try to make a team for himself at this point in his career. He doesn't think he'll be able to carry, so he just is going for the easiest route possible, path of least resistance. Yeah, I had to get that off my chest because while basketball is better with James Harden in it, I would not be happy if the Wolves would have traded. Like, I would, if he's on the Timberwolves, I don't root for him.
Yeah,
like, that's how I don't care what team he's on. I'm gonna be rooting against the Sixers, rooting against the Nets. I can't. Yeah,
unless I see something that's like
unless he puts out a Jimmy Butler performance, the bubble heat like that.
Right.
Like if he
like T-Mac, like if the T-Mac 13 points in 33 seconds emotion, like that kind of like.
Right.
I'm gonna take over this game for the next.
Crumpled over, exhausted from the amount of effort you put in.
Yeah.
Or crying because the amount of effort you put in order to win.
Yeah.
Or it's going to take something astronomical, in my opinion. If I get it, he doesn't give a shit about my opinion.
Yeah.
Because, like, who am I to him? But my goodness, I mean, last pick in the All-Star game, pick.
Yeah.
KD would have taken, it was Rudy Gobert and him. KD would have taken Isaiah Thomas. KD would have taken some random that dude, Didi Louzada. He would have taken Didi Louzada before him.
Even LeBron didn't want him. He's like, is he even healthy? Can he play?
Covered his so
he got traded. He's healthy.
Yeah, I don't like. I know it helps you get the clicks by being aggressive and being upfront. So if I were to actually like speak my mind, like I feel like my face is getting red. I'm very frustrated with James Harden because he's the exact, if I were to build a team in the NBA, he's the exact opposite personality I would want my star to have.
Are you wearing green pants?
No.
You could have gone like red, yellow. Red, yellow.
No, underwear's blue.
You're wearing underwear?
For the first time in a while, yeah. Let me know in the comments if you hate me now. All that, go ahead. Call me an idiot. I don't care until he does something that earns until he does something that earns his teammates' respect as well. Like, there's nothing he can do that makes me think, why would you ever, I wouldn't consider him first ballot Hall of Fame. I wouldn't, nothing. He needs to do Tracy McGrady effort. He needs to do
like
something.
35 points per game in the play, like that.
Something that shows you care about basketball. How about something that shows you care about basketball? Because right now you don't show me that you care about basketball. You show me that you care about Harden. I gotta stop. That's it for basketball in general. That's it for basketball. We'll jump onto the NFL. We went really long because I'm fucking pissed. And let's get into the NFL. Woo! First thing, the NFL. It's a global organization now. Played in London for multiple years. Now being played in Germany and Mexico.
Yeah, I played in Mexico before. It's done a game in Mexico before,
But now they're going to have 4 games in Germany over the next 4 years. 2 games in Munich and 2 games in Berlin, I believe. I think that's awesome. I think that's really cool. I hear a lot of players like being able to see the city, but a lot of them leave immediately so they don't really get to experience it. It's kind of disappointing in terms of for the players and the media members and stuff involved. In terms of building a business, I get it. Global, makes more money. Yeah, not really too much else to say about that. Just letting people know 2 games in Munich, 2 games in Berlin. It'll be exciting to see, like, where could they possibly go next? You want to go to, Dublin? You want to go to Rome? You want to, are there places? Because anywhere that has a giant soccer field, you'll be able to put a football field. So anywhere that plays international soccer that has
we used to do it on a baseball field.
Right. But probably don't want to do it on a baseball field. But anywhere that has an international soccer stadium, could they do China or Japan? Probably not China, but could they do Australia? They already have Australian football, and Australian football is pretty sick. It'll be interesting to see where they go next. We're going to cover the Vikings, and then we're going to finish off with some head coach hires. The Vikings they hired a new defensive coordinator.
Ed Donatel.
Thank you. I was going to look that up quick. That Ed Donatel, because Andre Patterson is gone. He was signed elsewhere. Giants
D-line coach.
Yeah. And the other guy that they were interested in signed elsewhere as well. They were also interested in a new special teams coordinator who ended up signing with the Jags, Heath Farwell.
He played for us, right? Farwell?
He was with the Bills last year. He was going to be the interim head coach at one point, but then Brian Daboll was able to clear whatever was the issue, and otherwise Heath Farwell was going to be the interim head coach. Anyway, Heath Farwell went to the Jags, so they lost out on a special teams guy they wanted. Lost out on Andre Patterson staying. He's going, so they got a new defensive coordinator. That defensive coordinator plays a 3-4 defense, which means
he's been working for Vic Fangio, which has been rumored for that position too for the last 10 years. So I was going to know a lot of what Vic Fangio knows, a lot of concepts he does.
But so most likely going to move to a 3-4. What does that mean for the Vikings? Well, Zimmer was transitioning to a 3-4. He ran more of a hybrid set, similar like the Patriots, where they run 3-4 and 4-3. But most of the time they had 4 down linemen. No matter how many, it was like a nickel dime quarter set as opposed to like a 3-4. They'd almost always have 4 down linemen, and then it was the linebackers would either be 2 or 3 as opposed to 4. And then it would always be, if there was like a 4th linebacker, it'd be more like a sub linebacker or a nickel. Wouldn't always be like this is more of a traditional 3-4, nose tackle and 2 defensive ends as opposed to 2 D tackles,
like a stand-up
nose tackle,
stand-up pass rushing outside linebacker,
and then you have an edge rusher, and then 2 traditional middle linebackers. I was listening to some other former NFL players. I actually started doing some research on X's and O discussion. There was I can't remember what the name of the podcast was, but I listened to an episode discussing the differences between a 4-3 and a 3-4 and what certain players need. It sounds like the big consistency in all these, from what I've gathered in terms of research and in terms of what other people have reported and in terms of my own knowledge, Eric Kendricks is the big question mark, because Eric Kendricks is the guy who he is a 3-4, he is a 4-3 middle linebacker. He is not a 3-4 middle linebacker. He just doesn't, apparently that's just, but it's based on what I know, what I've listened to, that he just doesn't fit the scheme. I was even listening to a former Viking, Ben Lieber, who has his own podcast, talking about how Eric Kendricks is all of his deficiencies, where his weak points are, even though there's not many, where his weak points are is where you need the strengths to be of a 3-4 middle linebacker. But all of Anthony Barr's best points are what you'd want in a 3-4 middle linebacker.
Right.
It's really, they're talking about how moving to a 3-4 means you should retain Barr and consider moving Kendricks. I don't think you move Kendricks. I think Kendricks is smart enough to figure it out.
I was just going to say, I think he's smart enough to adapt to what you need him to. He's one of the best middle linebackers in football. So,
but I think moving to a 3-4 definitely means that having a 4-3, I was totally fine getting rid of Barr. But moving to a 3-4, if Barr's willing to sign for a good number, you should at least make an offer. Because, like, not only does
he's your second best linebacker, like whether you like to admit it or not, he's your second best linebacker. So,
however, Vigil's good.
Vigil was good for us. Yeah,
he can alternate between that D end and outside linebacker spot. I think
he's quick.
Yeah, and I think that Nickeil might be one of those guys that gets moved.
A lot of people are saying that there's a lot of teams that have this like an early pick this year, and like a prime defensive end usually yields some high picks.
Right.
But with Nickeil's like injury stuff, it kind of depends. I still think you get a high pick. Like
I think so too.
I don't think a first is out of the question at all.
When he is healthy, he has Myles Garrett numbers. He has these like defensive player of the year stats. So when if you can get a team to realize that plays a 4-3 that is in the higher, I think you can get an early pick. I do think that's the odd man out more than Kendricks. I think Nickeil is not a 3-4 defensive end. He's strong enough to be one, but if anything, he's more of a 4-3 outside linebacker, and I don't know if he should ever be dropping into coverage.
Yeah.
I think that the Vikings need to get some different defensive linemen. I think moving to a 3-4 means that first pick went from being an O-line or corner to D-line or corner. Like, you might have to sacrifice an early O-line pick again.
Well, I mean, and thinking about it, if you can get Mason Cole back, if you can bring Mason Cole back, which you traded a 6th-round pick for him, but, why wouldn't you? He plays better than Bradbury. And then you have Wyatt Davis potentially be what we all think Wyatt Davis can be. You don't really need O-line early. Like, you don't, you know what I mean?
My number one choice would be a guard. Honestly, like my number one choice would be a guard. If the top guard is available, say you trade Nickeil and get an early first, that's earlier than their current pick. If the top guard is available on left or right side, you take him.
I've seen Jets and Giants both been linked. The Giants have 5 and 7, and the Jets have 10.
I could see Nickeil for the 10th, but I think the Jets need picks more than they need Nickeil. So I would expect the Giants would say
Giants
7.
have Patterson too.
I would say 7 for Nickeil, and they'd probably ask for our first in return.
Yeah, what I heard was like, what I was like, well, we could get probably a mid pick if we throw in a late pick. So like a 1-3 for Nickeil and a 6 or something like that. That's what I've seen assumed.
Well, anyway, I do think Nickeil's odd man out. I think Harrison Smith's still good there. It's the front 7. We're going to have to see a huge change of personnel because all of our guys, except for Barr.
What do corners look like? What kind of corners are you looking for in that kind of? In
a 3-4, you're still going to be running a lot of nickel and a lot less dime, which is good. But what you're looking for, I think Patrick Peterson becomes a really good number 2 because at 4-3, you're asking your corners to be man-to-man a lot more. In 3-4, you can play a lot of zone because you have that extra linebacker out there and probably an athletic linebacker, which, toss this in there, Chaz Surratt, way better in a 3-4 than a 4-3. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. Forgot about him, honestly.
Yeah. I think Chaz Surratt becomes a 4-3 3-4 outside linebacker, all of a sudden way better than a 4-3 defense.
Vigil can move around. Vigil's quick. Kendricks is quick.
You could genuinely put Vigil at defensive end with Surratt outside of him. If you wanted to. I don't know if Vigil would be willing to get down on a stance, but yeah, I think that there are things they could do there. But corners, you have a lot more ability to be flexible with man versus zone as opposed to relying on as much man-to-man coverage. So
about like Bynum, who's someone we wanted to see,
would have been really good in this.
Sure.
I think Bynum would be solid. I based on development, I really don't think any of our corners. I think Cam Tansler's going to get helped out because I
know we wanted to see Cam Bynum get some more time back there at safety.
I would like Cam Bynum to get more time. Bynum becomes a coverage safety as opposed to a guy that has to go up into the box at all.
Right.
Harrison Smith gets to stay in coverage more often. So it really becomes helpful for our current defensive backs and really hard on our current linemen and linebackers.
Sure.
So our front seven is going to need a complete rehaul, but we know who to target for D-backs now.
Right.
Interesting. I love the idea of a 3-4. I think 3-4s are much easier to run as a defense. I always wanted to be a 3-4 outside as opposed to I was always a 4-3 outside linebacker. I always wanted to be a 3-4 because blitzing was fun. You really just like Everson Griffin is actually a really good 3-4 outside linebacker in his prime. I don't know about now,
Sure.
but like he always loved dropping in coverage. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't want to go too much into it, but yeah,
that excites me for possibly like. I know we've got some guys we drafted. Like, what can DJ Wanham, Kenny Willekes? Kenny Willekes is like a linebacker. You know what I mean? Patrick Jones. I don't know. Some of these other guys, young guys we drafted. Like, what's their future too?
I think a lot of those guys you're potentially going to see moved,
like DN to outside linebacker.
No, like traded or cut, because a lot of these guys that defensive end to outside linebacker is a lot easier for the athletic guys, but that defensive end to defensive end or defensive tackle to nose tackle is just a whole new world.
Right.
I think Michael Pierce is like made to be a nose tackle, so it makes a lot of sense. But all of a sudden, Dalvin Tomlinson becomes a defensive end instead of a defensive tackle, or becomes a nose tackle that swaps out. It's so Sheldon Richardson is a natural 3-4 defensive end, but he prefers 4-3 defensive end. It's gonna be weird, man. It's our front seven is not built for 3-4, so we're gonna have to see a lot of change.
Sure.
The other Vikings news, kind of.
I want to say that the Vikings did retain Keenan McCardell. So we were like Andre Patterson, Keenan McCardell, Ryan Ficken. Yeah. Right after we did that podcast, I looked it up and Ryan Ficken signed somewhere else. So I was like, shit. Yeah. Andre Patterson's gone, but they were like, our best player, our face of our franchise right now, Justin Jefferson, loves Keenan McCardell. Adam Thielen likes Keenan McCardell. He developed KJ Osborne, Amir Smith-Marset. Like, both of those guys made jumps.
Yeah.
He's back. So,
right. Which, I mean, that's really good news. That's super good news. However, there was an offensive player. So he's an offensive coach. There's an offensive player that currently the Vikings apparently were in the runnings to get. What? And he's a quarterback. Kyler Murray apparently removes all of his photos of anything to do with the Cardinals, unfollowed everything on Instagram, all of his social medias, anything to do with the Arizona Cardinals he got rid of. People started bringing up the fact that he grew up a Vikings fan. All these people were like, all right, go get him. Kirk Cousins and 2 firsts for Kyler Murray. Hot take. Kirk Cousins is better than Kyler Murray.
Yeah, yes, he is. Kyler Murray, there's a picture of him standing next to Marquise Brown, and Marquise Brown is 5'9", and Kyler Murray is shorter than Marquise Brown.
Yeah, there's no way Kyler Murray is 5'9".
Yeah,
I don't think.
He saes he's 5'11".
He's listed as 5'11". Yep.
Yeah,
and apparently that's what he measured at the combine as well. I don't believe it. No, I don't believe there was I think it was Shannon Sharp said if I had to guess he's 5'6", and I don't think height is too big of an issue in any sport. When it comes to quarterback, usually that's a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, like he doesn't run because he wants to, he runs because he has to.
Yeah, because so he can see.
Right, exactly. He can't see over the line. Drew Brees said there were times where he had to jump over the line and he was 5'11".
You and I both did if Rodgers and Brady, we talked about this last week, I think. If Rodgers and Brady leaves, if Rodgers and Brady, like Rodgers goes AFC, Brady retires, Kirk could be a top 5 QB, I think is what the post was. And I'm like, he's like top 3 in the NFC, in the NFC. So,
yeah. I was just thinking Taron Rodgers and Ron 80 or something. Taron Rodgers. I so many different names started popping. Taron Rodgers,
Bomb Trady.
But yeah, I think Kirk would be a top 3 quarterback if Rodgers and Brady are not there.
Yeah, and the NFC. Both of us said Russ and Stafford.
Russ Stafford.
And then I've seen other people put Dak and Kyler in there, and I was like, that'd probably be the top 5, but
not in that order.
Yeah, I don't know.
Honestly, I'd rather have Matt Ryan over Kyler Murray, I think.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with Kyler Murray. Super athletic, really good arm. I mean, he crumbled in the biggest moment.
He crumbled the second half of the season. He played 8 games that were good.
And people were like, well, he didn't have DeAndre Hopkins. So any quarterback that loses his number one wide receiver loses a lot of their ability. Well, a lot of the top tier quarterbacks elevate receivers. The receivers don't elevate the quarterback. DeAndre Hopkins his own thing, because DeAndre Hopkins is one of the best receivers of all time. I don't care what anybody says. We had a short little discussion on it before. You think Devontae Adams is the number one wide receiver. I think D-Hop is the number one wide receiver. Sure. Doesn't matter. When that type of receiver gone, any quarterback takes a hit. But you have Christian Kirk, you have Rondale Moore, AJ Green, you have Zach Ertz. You had 3 running backs that actually can catch the ball pretty well. Right, like you have weapons. Like you don't tell me that without DeAndre Hopkins, the Cardinals are barren. So honestly, I think it's just kind of I'm going back to that word, but it's such a punk move to do this whole.
Nice, he got it in.
Just to do this whole, I'm gonna unfollow. Diggs did that. I'm following everything the Vikings do. Like, oh, so is this him leveraging, trying to get a contract extension? Because I saw a lot of people were saying this isn't him trying to get out of the Cardinals. This is him saying, I want an extension now. Because the Cardinals opted out of his they are not doing his fifth year option.
Apparently, he wants like 50 to 55 mil or something like that.
Right? Yeah, he wants 50 to 55 mil, or he wants to play for the Oakland Athletics.
Hey, those baseball contracts, though.
He wouldn't be able to play. He would have to go to minor leagues, like Division III or AAA.
Right.
He would have to do all that first.
Work his way back up.
Yeah. So it might be 4 years from now until he's making that money, and 4 years from now.
Those are for the super of the superstars. Like,
and he's supposed to be he's a shortstop, isn't he? Like he's a short. Is he going to be a superstar in the Major League?
I don't know.
People already consider him a top 5 quarterback in the NFC. Is he going to be considered good, even in base? Like, yet we know he's good. He was a top 10 pick in baseball. Do we know if he's still like? You're going to have to bet.
Go do what Russ does. Go do what Russ does, and go do spring training with whatever team that drafted you. Go
with the Oakland A's. Just go do it. If that's really what Kyler Murray does, all the best to him. But when players do this whole unfollow, passive aggressive tweets, texts leak accidentally, I'm all for the team.
I don't know.
I'd
rather
peace.
Like, I'd rather do the laying the roots strategy that like Pat Mahomes did, for instance. Like, everyone usually makes the charity for their city. Pat Mahomes straight up bought part of the Kansas City Royals. Like, he's like, I'm gonna be here. Like,
took a 10-year contract. Everybody doesn't have to do a 10-year contract, but you should do something. Like, Kyle Rudolph was roots deep in Minnesota. Yeah, he's still gone, but like, he was here almost his whole career. Yeah. Kyler Murray could have done that, but it feels like the second he went to Arizona, he doesn't want to be there. Yeah. He doesn't like Cliff Kingsbury. I get that. I mean, if I'm the Cardinals, fire Kingsbury and then get a new offensive coach. If Kyler's still unhappy with the new coach, move on. Yeah. He's not, at this moment in his career, from what we have seen, he is not good enough to dismantle your locker room or team and salary cap. If he can't perform without DeAndre Hopkins and you give him $55 million, you're not building the team around him. Yeah. So if he's telling you he can't carry the team without DeAndre Hopkins, he's not carrying the team with those other players you put around him at $55 million.
Right. No, not a chance.
Not happening. So, Vikings fans that wanted Cousins traded for Kyler, you're all idiots. I don't care if you're listening. Like, we have a lot of people that listen that are from Minnesota. Like, a lot of those people are Minnesotans. If you wanted Kirk Cousins traded for Kyler Murray, you're an idiot. And I'd be asking
what else are they giving us?
Well, right. Yep. Because it was Kirk Cousins and 2 firsts is what some people were saying. No, like, if you truly think Kirk Cousins is not as good as Kyler Murray, especially in our offense with our system, you're an idiot. Last couple things are head coaching signings around the NFL. Dennis Allen was promoted from the longtime defensive coordinator for the Saints is now the head coach. Players, what was that?
Good luck.
Saints
job is
so apparently Sean Payton didn't let a single player know by the way. So
He tried to do it all, and then
Yep.
he fades out.
he did the magic. I'm not gonna be here.
Yeah.
Like he apparently didn't let any players know because Cam Jordan said he was blindsided.
That's a different movie. That's a different player.
Oh yeah, that one. So it wasn't the Kevin James. It was not. It was Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock playing Sean Payton. But yeah, good luck,
She's got
Dennis
range.
Allen. Apparently the players like him. She does, and she's so good. Lovie Smith was hired as head coach for the Texans.
Good luck.
Good luck again. I don't think Cully should not have been fired with what he did with that team. The players liked him. I think Lovie Smith
He had to deal with the whole Deshaun Watson thing. That's
He actually had wins with Davis Mills as quarterback.
yeah. And Tyrod.
Right, and David Johnson. No, I think Lovie Smith is a good coach. It's interesting to see what he's going to be able to do. I heard some people say they felt forced to hire another black coach. They hired Lovie because they thought he was the best guy for the job.
Sure. Yeah.
Last thing, Mike McDaniel, another black head coach, hired for the Dolphins.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel, that was the guy I wanted for the Vikings. He is a boomer bust guy. There are some of these guys that are safer. People were saying Kevin O'Connell was like a safer of these younger coaches, and Mike McDaniel.
Well, Kevin O'Connell doesn't call plays.
Do you see that video? Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin.
Great play call.
Yeah,
Great call,
cups like crazy long one to get.
Kev. Yeah, the end of the game call against the Buccaneers were made by Kevin O'Connell. But anyway, apparently Kevin O'Connell was the safer one because he was more likely to be a hit than a miss. And Mike McDaniel is the one that if he does hit, your team's going to be insanely offensively productive.
Yeah.
But that he has a huge chance of missing. I still wanted McDaniel, but I'm excited to see what McConnell will do.
Yeah.
Little side story with McDaniel was that apparently his dad is black. His dad must be pretty light-skinned because a lot of guys were saying, see him in the street, Mike McDaniel doesn't look black. Mike McDaniel was like, I've never thought of myself as a black man. I just always thought of myself as a human. So I think it's strange that this is all being brought up. He's like, I've always seen my dad being black. My dad's dealt with racism. My mom's dealt with racism for marrying a black man, but I've never dealt with it.
Right.
Rob Parker from Fox Sports was like, I would have thought he was white. You would have never guessed in a million years. Like a lot of these people are saying, it's just like I don't think Mike McDaniel truly cares.
Yeah.
The biggest thing about it is that the Niners get 2 picks because he's considered a diversity hire at head coach. So the Niners get 2 compensatory picks for him.
Nice.
Like that's really the only difference because he's considered a diversity hire. I'm rooting for him so hard.
Oh yeah, I think with the pieces they have in Miami, that's be intriguing for him to go to. Like
right. And Mike, we like Mike's favorite team is the Dolphins, and he got Mike McDaniels.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun for them.
If anybody can make Tua a productive quarterback, it's Mike McDaniels.
Yeah, and they got pieces. They got Waddle. They got
sticky hands.
Yeah, they have a running back there that's really good.
No, they don't. I never saw him once. I don't think they used him at all.
No, they didn't.
That's all we got for football, though. That'll be it for the whole sports section. I really hope you all enjoyed this. Thank you all for watching. We will see you in the Marvel section because you want to watch it, and we'll see you next week for this section. Thank you all for listening on Spotify. Shout out to you. Thank you for the comments that we've been getting. We really appreciate you.
It's a G. No, it's a G.
Oh.
Is it backwards? Yeah, you gotta turn your hand kind of weird.
But anyway, you all look great today. See you next week. GG.
GG.